Everyone, I hope you all are safe and doing good. So, in the series of learning C++ programming language, we have discussed arrays in C++, 1D array, 2D array, and with some coding exercise as well. Right. Now, next important topic is vectors. So, I'm not feeling well, so please tolerate with me, especially my voice. So, now next topic is vectors in C++. Right. I hope you have heard a term STL, Standard Template Library. Vectors are part of this thing, STL. Don't worry, we'll see what is STL first, then we will come to vectors, right? But these are extremely important and useful if you are working in C++ or learning C++, right? Because, see, if you want to solve those lead code problems and if you have tried one or two, then in the solution panel, in this case, solution side, you see a term vector. And almost everywhere, you see this term vector. So, what is vector? We'll see in this video. How vectors are different from arrays. If we have arrays, then why we are using vectors, right? How to declare a vector, how to initialize vectors. These things we'll see in this video, right? So first thing, what is STL? Standard Template Library. As the name suggests, template library, right? So like in your college or school also you have a library. There we have some books, right? You go to that library. If if you want some book, then you get the book issued from the librarian and you just read that book or take notes and then return the book to library again, right? Or maybe if you sit in the library and read any book and then, you can't bring that book to home without get issued from the librarian, right? Right? So there are many books. Anyone, any student from that university or college can access that book. Or there are public libraries as well, so anyone can go there and access any book, right? You don't need to purchase each and every book you want, right? So it is going to save your money as well. So same thing in programming also is this library. This library is a, you can say, collection of some data structures, algorithms and some other components as well that can be used to simplify the development of C++ programs. That you can use those functions, those algorithms, those data structures. Those are already implemented and stored in that library that we can use to write a program, to write a project. It will save our time as well, right? So this is what STL. The main idea of using STL is to reuse the code so that you don't have to write the code again and again. Suppose if you want to sort something. So if you want to write sort something, so you will write that complete code of sorting, maybe merge sort, quick sort or any sort, right? So rather than writing the complete code of sorting, in this library we have a function for sorting. So directly we can use that function, right? So in one line we can apply sorting in our program rather than writing the complete code, because this complete code is already written in STL, so we can directly use it. So obviously it is going to simplify our life, right? It is going to save our time and our program efficiency would be more, because these algorithms, these data structures has been implemented with some optimized algorithms. So if you use these things already pre-built, these pre-built things in our program, then definitely it is going to speed up the execution of our program, right? So there are always, many plus points, or you can say many advantages of using this STL. That is why we are now learning STL. Especially one part is vector. Now vector is part of STL. Vector is a class actually. So whenever we are going to create or declare a vector, you can say we are creating an object of that vector class, right? So it is basically a class. Like array is a derived data type, we say, or a data structure. Same like vector is, we can say it's a class, or it's like a container, right? In STL we have it's a set of container like vectors, list, map, many data structures, stack, queue, many things we are having in STL that we can use, right? I hope now you got the basic idea of STL. Maybe if you are not getting a complete video on STL, what is STL, we can make a separate video. But for this video, I hope you got the idea what is STL, right? And vectors are part of STL, right? So if you are going to use this STL in our program, when you write your program, then definitely it is going to save your time and effort, right? Now what are vectors? See, what are arrays? Arrays are collection of homogeneous data items. Like I have an array A. So here we can store 5 data items of type integer only. Same vector. Vector is also a container. It's like a container or collection. Container means a box, like this is a container, like a box. So here in this box I have my marker, my ink, my pen and everything, right? Mix. But we cannot say it is a vector, because vector is a collection of, in that container, vector container, we can store similar type of data items. So if this is a vector, then I can store only same type of data items, like I can store only maybe markers only, no ink, no pen, same data item. So this is what a container or a vector, if I am storing same type of data item. I hope you can relate this kind of thing. So now how vectors are different from arrays now? Because vectors are dynamic arrays. Now what does that mean? Here I can store 5 elements. I want to store suppose 10 elements. Then what you have to do? Just you can declare another array A, B of 10 elements. Right? Or maybe you have to just resize it 10. So in this case, first the array size was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next array would be, another array would be created and having 10 size. Right? It's not like that within the same array another 5 blocks would be allocated. No, another array would be created. So manually you have to change. The size of array is fixed. It's not dynamic. Array size cannot be increased or decreased at runtime. Right? But dynamic array is what? The size of that array or that vector is like a dynamic array that is used to store the elements and manipulate those elements. Right? And the size of vectors can be automatically increased and decreased at runtime while you are inserting an element and deleting an element. If you want to insert an element, a vector will automatically increase its size. Right? If you delete, then automatically will shrink the size. We have a function like shrink to fit. That function we can apply. Right? That is why vectors are known as dynamic arrays. Each vector can change their size at runtime automatically. Means they can increase or decrease their size automatically. But how? I've told you vector is like a container, sequence container. Sequence means because all the elements of vectors are in a strict linear sequence. Right? Like this. In a strict sequence. Suppose this is the vector I have to store 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 5 like this. And can be accessed with the help of their position. Same with array, index start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 something like this. And last element is at size -1 and first element is at 0. Same as arrays. Right? And if this like it is a container. So in container like we have a allocator object. I mean the container uses allocator objects to handle the storage needs automatically. Right? So they have an allocator object. That is why we are saying like the vectors can increase and decrease their size at runtime. Right? So that allocator object will handle these things, the storage needs at runtime. Right? Now, same in arrays, these elements are stored in contiguous memory allocations. Same with vectors, these elements are stored in contiguous memory locations. Index start from 0 and like this. Same data type of, same kind of element, same type of element we can store in one vector. These are same with same characteristics of arrays. Only difference is vectors are dynamic array. Means they can change their size at runtime automatically. Right? How these are changing, how the size is to be increased and like this, those things we'll be discussing one by one in coming videos. Right? Now, I hope the basic idea of vectors are clear to you guys. One thing that also different vector from arrays is vectors can also provide bound checking. In array, there is no bound checking. Means if this is an array, if suppose this is an array of name A, and here if I want to access element 10, so it will give some garbage value. But ideally it should give an error, like the array size is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements, so we cannot access this. This is out of bound, but it will not give any error. So there is no bound checking in arrays, but vectors provide you bound checking, right? There are some functions that provide you bound checking, right? But same if this is vector, suppose this is vector, not array, this is vector A, right? Same if you use these subscript, and if you want to access the index 10, then it will not provide you bound checking. It will give some garbage value. But there are certain functions that do bound checking. Those functions also we'll see, because there are many ways to access elements in a vector. Either we can use this subscript kind of thing, or we can use add function, right? So in some other function it provide bound checking, but if you use this thing to access any element, in this case vectors also do not provide bound checking. So please note these points, right? Now how to declare vectors? We use same the vector. Here we use the type, data type, or we can say object type, because vector I told you is a class. When you are creating a vector, means you are creating an object of that class, right? So object type, here we write the vector name, right? And if you are using namespace std, then it's fine. If you are not using that thing, then std here and this operator, scope resolution operator, std scope resolution operator with this std, this vector. This is what you can say, it's a namespace for vectors, right? Okay, object type, vector name, and size is optional. Here I am writing the complete syntax, so I am writing here size as well in bracket, in these bracket, right? So the size is optional. You don't need to give size if you don't want to, it's okay. And if you want to declare a vector with size, then you can give, right? So vector, here the type, here vector name. So for example, std vector, and I am taking a vector of type int and numbers. That's it. I am not giving any size. Take another example also, std vector like char and vowels. Any data type you can take here, it's fine, right? So these are some example of vectors. Or if you want to declare a vector with size, if you want to give size, you can give. Let's take this example. I want to modify this thing. So here in these brackets, bracket would be these, round bracket. This is, we have declared a vector with size. These are with no size. So here if there is no size, then it would be an numbers, it would be an empty vector. Right now we cannot store any number, but the size can be increased according to our need. If you want to store any element, then size would be automatically increased, automatically. Here also, this is also an empty vector. We cannot store any element right now here. But if you want to store something, then you can initialize this vector and size would be automatically allocated, automatically increased, right? So these things would be handled by vector automatically, because this is not array, this is dynamic array. So like we can say vector is an array that can shrink and increase its size at execution time automatically, right? Now one more thing, if you are using this class, this vector, then obviously you have to include that vector class, vector library above, like this, hash include vector, like this, right? You cannot directly use this vector from standard template library without using this. It's like you have to get issued vector from STL, right? Because if you want to book any book from that library, you have to get that book issued from librarian. You cannot take the book and just bring that book to your home. No, that is not allowed, right? So same, this thing you have to include this library vector, then you can use this vector, create your vector, and whatever function with the vector we can do in our program. So this is simple declaration. Now how to initialize vectors? See, there are many methods to initialize vectors, right? One by one we will see practically those methods, right? So now we'll see with the help of programs. I hope theory part is clear to you guys. If you have any doubt, you can let me know in comment section. So let's create a new file, vector intro.cpp, right? So first you have to include that header IO stream, and then if you are using vector, then vector, right? Okay. Now first declare a vector. Do yourself first. Any vector you can declare. So here I'm not using that, using namespace std. Let's use that. Because rather than writing again and again like std and std in a program, simple one time I'll use using namespace std, right? Although it's not a very good practice to use this line using namespace std, but we are using. So let's declare a vector here. The type we are taking int and vector name numbers, right, semicolon. So this is how we have declared a vector successfully, but this is empty vector. It is not holding any value. It cannot hold actually any value right now, but it can automatically increase its size if we initialize this vector. So first thing, see, if you not include, let me just show you, if you do not include this thing, then it will give error. See, below this line you have a red line. Identifier vector is undefined because the compiler doesn't know what is this vector. So you have to include this library, because this is here in this library, this class is in this library vector STL, standard template library. So now how to initialize? Declaration is fine. First way is, we will discuss 3 or 4 ways. First way, we have a function pushback. So one by one we can insert element in vectors, one element at a time if you want to insert. Okay, now how to use that thing? The name of that vector first in which you want to put the value, insert the element, right? So numbers dot, we have this pushback, this method, and in bracket just put the value, so 2. Same, one more, suppose element 3 element I want to initialize, like 21, 23, right? So this is how you can initialize using pushback method. I hope you got this. This is the syntax. Syntax would be, if you want to write, first you will write the vector name dot pushback, and in bracket you just write value, right? Okay. Same I told you, like we can access the element of vector with using index also from 0 to size -1. So if you want to print cout at 0th location, what is the value? So same as arrays, the vector name that is numbers, and if you use this bracket, I am simply using this bracket right now, but it will not provide you bound checking. I will show you. Numbers 0, it will print 2, because at 0th index we have 2. So 0, 1, 2. If I want to access at index 5, so it will not do now bound checking, it will give any garbage value. See, any garbage value you will get here, right? 2, 5, 0, 4, 1. No bound checking is there. But there are certain functions, if you use those functions to access values, that will give you bound checking. These things we'll see in next video. So right now, this is one method of initializing. You can put this line in for loop also, right? Rather than writing 3 times, what we can do is, we can just take a for loop, like int I is equal to 0 till I less than, suppose, less than 3, and I plus plus. Every time it will ask, like it will enter in this loop and enter value, whatever value you will insert, it will insert that value into that vector, right? So 3 times it is going to continue, 0, 1, 2, 3 times. See, enter value, I am entering first 2, then again 34, again 56. So I am accessing element value at index first. So at 1 we have 34, so it is giving you 34, right? So this is how you can put this and push back in like loop also. So this is one method, right? Now second way is, if you want to populate the vector with the same value multiple times, then we can use overload constructor. Now how you will do that thing? See, let's just comment out these things, and I have just declared a vector without any size. So right now if you want to know the size of this vector, then how to calculate the size? We have a function size, we have a method size. You can just do vector name dot size and it will give the size of this vector, right? So right now comment out this line and let me just run this for you. The size of the number, this vector is 0, right? But if you push back any value here, it will automatically increase its size, double its size, right? See, there are two things, size plus capacity. These are different things. If I print same capacity here, so for that also we have a method, right? Let me just show you what output you will get here. See, size is 0, capacity is also 0 right now, right? Because we haven't given any size. Okay. If I enter a value 1, then what do you think? What is size? What is capacity? Okay, let me show you. Size is 1, capacity is also 1. Fine. If I insert, now see, I'm going to show you a interesting thing. Please concentrate here. Suppose 2 here. 2 elements are there. Now let me just run this and I'll show you what output you will get here. Size is 2, capacity of number is also 2. Okay, same. Now the twist is right now, if I insert one more element, push back, suppose 3, right? Okay, let's see now. Now size is 3 but capacity of numbers is 4. Why so? See, I'm inserting one value. So the size and capacity, it's 1 element is storing. So now one size is 1. Now again I want to insert another element. So it is going to double its size. So first size was 1. Now one more element, so size becomes 2. Means capacity actually becomes 2. It is going to double its size. So capacity is 2, size is also 2. Now third element. Now it is going to double its size. First it was 2. 2 into 2, double means it becomes now 4. So actually capacity is 4, but size is, because actually we have inserted only 3 elements. So size is 3 but capacity is 4, means it can hold 4 numbers right now, right? So if I insert one more item, see, suppose 34. What do you think? Pause the video and let me know in the comment section what should be the size, what should be the capacity right now. See, this point is very important. You have to clear this point. Capacity is 4, size is 4. Okay. But now one more thing, one more element I want to insert. Suppose it's 37. Now again pause the video and try this out. Write down in comment section like what is the size, what is the capacity. So size is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But capacity this time is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 was capacity, but I'm inserting 5th element. So it is going to now double its capacity. So capacity becomes 8, but actual size is 4. Right? See. Size is 5, so size is 5, sorry, and capacity is 8. So how many elements this vector can store right now? 8 elements. Right? But actual element we have stored only 5. If you have stored right now 8 elements, all the vector is full and I want to insert 9th element. So now it is going to double its size, like 16 it becomes, right? So this is the case. Capacity is different, size is different. This is how it is going to handle. It is going to, increase its size automatically, going to double its size, right? So to maintain this kind of thing, it needs extra memory than array, right? More memory than array to handle these kind of things. So how it is going to double? Like it is going to create another vector of double capacity and it is going to dump the previous vector, delete or destroy the previous vector, right? This is how it's going to work. Okay, this is one method of initializing. Next is, if you want to initialize, populate the vector, with same value multiple times, then we can use overloaded constructor. So here what we can do is, while declaring same vector, the type, vector name, and here in bracket we can write down how many number of times that element you want in that vector. Suppose 10 times. 10 times I want 5 in this vector. So if you will print this vector, all the 10 here, the number of repetition, first argument number of repetition, here the value you want to store in this vector. How many times? 10 times 5. So we can do something like this. Using loop we can, and I should be less than the size of vector. So you don't need to give any hard value. How to we have a function size? So just give that vector name dot size. It will automatically calculate the size, and till then it is going to repeat the loop I plus plus, and you just want to print cout the values. So same, I'm using this thing to access the values. So let me run this and see, it will, okay, let me just write down here new line also, ENDL or slash n you can write. Let's run this, and this 10 times 5 5 5 5 5 in the vector. So same value if you want to repeat multiple times. Another thing, we have a fill also. You can use that fill algorithm also, right? Now same, many times same value if you want to put in that vector, you can just use fill algorithm rather than this thing. How to use that thing, let me show you. We have a vector, here you have to give size, like size of vector is 10 value I want to store, right? So here we have this fill and vector, you have to use some iterator like begin, from begin to end, numbers dot end, and what value I want to give, suppose 5, same. And I want to print this thing. So same, it will give you 5 5 5 5 10 times. So this is how we can use that fill also, fill algorithm, fill function, right? We can use initializer list also, like we use arrays. Let me show you that thing also. Rather than this fill, I'm using here only. No size, vectors equal to, just give initializer list. That's it. Suppose 1, we are just giving initializer list and we are initializing vector. This is also one thing. So same, if you want to print, with for loop we can print, right? Here size will be automatically calculated and it will give you all the values. So it will print all the values of this vector, right? So this is another way. Or we have a vector and using that vector we can initialize another vector. That is also a case. So suppose I have this vector numbers and another vector I am taking vector int. Obviously same type we have to take because I am to initialize the second vector with these values only. So vector name I am taking numbers 2, right? And here what you have to give in these brackets, this vector name, because from this vector I want to take values. So numbers dot begin comma numbers dot end. These are the begin and these are iterator functions. There are many more iterator functions also. That also we'll see one by one. Whenever we use these functions, you will get it, familiar with these functions. No need to just learn or remember all the functions at first. We use these functions one by one and you will get these things, right? Don't worry. I hope you got the begin and end. What is the meaning of these iterator? Why we use this? Begin means from here and end here, right? From here to here, all the values I want to take and I want to initialize vector number 2. So here numbers, I want to print the second vector, numbers 2. So same value it will give you 1 4 5 6 8 8 9 9 0. This is how, with help of another vector, we can initialize a vector, right? This is also one way. And like this, there are many more ways also, but most commonly used methods I have told you. This is how we can initialize vectors. So it's up to you now. You have to practice. You just declare different type of vectors, initialize those vectors with these methods and all, right? So in the next video, we'll see how to access values from a vector, how to modify a vector, and there are different functions also that we can use with vectors. So those things we'll see in next video, right? So now I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.